Hello, my name is Mr. Glenn, and today I'm going to teach you about the plot diagram. Anytime we have a story, stories are always comprised of a beginning, middle, and end. There are times where people, start a story in the end and then it catches up to itself. You have flashbacks and pacing, but today I'm going to teach you about the plot diagram. Anytime I think of a story, I always equate it to a life support machine. As you can see, this line right here is the very thriving life force for any story. You have your ups and your downs. Stories are symbolic of sunrises and sunsets. You have a beginning, you have an end. This is something that we always should consider when watching a movie or reading a story, whether it begins in the end and catches back up to itself through the timeline. Um, it's beautiful. The plot diagram always begins with the exposition or the beginning of the story. In the exposition, you're introduced to the characters, the setting. You get a quick backdrop of who's the whole story going to be about. The rise in action is what builds into the climax of the story. So what causes this character to push forward? The climax is the highest point of the story. This is where all the action takes place. This is where the character is introduced to the conflict. Um, Things are just picking up in the story. This leads into the fall in action where the character starts to sum up the conflict to try to get going towards a resolution. The resolution is the final component of the plot diagram. This is where the character who has experienced so much goes to finally tie up those loose ends. And in some cases, the loose ends may not be resolved, and it may lead into a part two, whether it's a book or a movie. Coming up here, I'm going to show you a plot diagram using John Wick. Exposition. John Wick is married. He loses his wife to cancer. Rise in action. He's confronted by a gangster by his car at the gas station. Gangster comes to his house, kills the dog that his wife left behind. Now we're introduced to John Wick in a new light. John Wick is actually a part of an assassin's guild. He goes on an escapade to get revenge. Once John Wick shows everyone that he's an assassin, he heads into the fallen action where he begins to tie up those loose ends. As you can see on this picture to the left, he has his gun. He's going about doing his thing. So he ties up those loose ends and then he heads home with his new dog to try to finish the rest of his life. Resolution. So just a quick recap, you have your exposition, rise in action, climax, fall in action, resolution. Now, the next time you are watching that movie or a TV show or reading that book, keep in mind the elements that go into a plot diagram. And you might be surprised just how intricate this diagram and how applicable it is to your everyday life.